Hey guys, it's Milana. In today's video, I will be doing the part 2 to my 25 best Netflix movies. I realized in the part 1 that I did talk too much and went into too much detail, so I'm going to make sure today that I get straight to the point. I categorized these movies today by inspirational, romance, and family-friendly movies. Let's just go ahead and get started. The first section is inspirational. The first movie that I have to start off with is The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. This was such a great movie. It's based on a true story, and it's basically about a 13-year-old boy who is inspired by a science book to go and build electricity. And he uses a whole bunch of scraps just from the small junkyard that they have. And he saves his whole village just by doing this. So it's a really great inspirational movie. Definitely give this one a 10 out of 10. Second movie is Soul Surfer. So this movie is basically about a girl who has lost her arm from surfing. A shark bit her arm off and she wants to go back into the water and just begin surfing again, doing what she loves. She's a very positive person and really inspirational because she does not give up on her passion. Definitely would give this one a 9 out of 10. Next movie is Beats. So there is a boy who has such raw talent. He can produce beats, he can rap, and he can sing. But the only problem is he stays cooped up in his house all the time and he never leaves. So it's up to his high school security guard officer to help this boy really get recognized and signed. So it's a really great movie. I would probably give this one a 10 out of 10. The next movie is Feel the Beat. This movie is about a Broadway dancer that does not make it. So she gets forced back to go to her hometown and she has to teach these small group of little girls to win this big competition. This little group, they have no rhythm whatsoever, so she has a lot of training to do. Really good movie. It's also a good family-friendly movie as well. I would probably give this one a 9 out of 10. Next section is romance. The first one I'm going to start off with is In Love with a Church Girl. It's about this guy who used to be a drug dealer. He falls in love with a really highly devoted church girl. So when they both, fall in love, they go down a twisty path just because of his past. Really good movie. I would probably give this one a 9.5 out of 10. Next movie is Love Guaranteed. So this guy wants to sue this dating website because he has not found love. So he goes to this attorney and explains the situation, and eventually they just work together so much that they both ended up falling in love with each other. It's a really cliche, kind of classic movie, I guess you can say, but I would probably give this one a 9.5 out of 10. The next movie is To All the Boys I've Loved Before. This movie is about a girl that writes letters whenever she has such an intense crush on somebody. She has a total of 5 letters that she keeps hidden in a small box in her closet. She thought that nobody knew about this, but her little sister did. So one day her sister just decides to send out all of those letters, and eventually one of those guys falls in love with her and she falls in love with him. So it's a really, really good movie. I'd probably give this one a 10 out of 10. Next movie is Desperados. So this girl has a new boyfriend that she thought ghosted her. So for a couple of days, he was actually in a concussion. And she sends this really bad email, and he's all the way in Mexico. So she goes all the way to Mexico just to try to delete this email. It's a really crazy, intense movie, but really funny. I'd probably give this one a 9 out of 10. Next movie is Nappily Ever After. This movie is about a girl who is a perfectionist on her hair. She spends so much time on her hair that it's basically her second job. Eventually, she loses a lot of valuable things in her life and she ends up shaving her whole head, which is basically like her crown. So she discovers herself and really puts herself first instead of her hair. It is a really great movie. I'd probably give this one a 10 out of 10.
So there's one thing that I also forgot to mention is she finds love along the way.
The next movie is Dear John. So this movie is about a young soldier and a young college girl falling in love with each other and making their long distance relationship work. So in this movie, they basically write letters to each other back and forth, and eventually they just fall apart and lose that long distance relationship. But I feel like this ending of this movie is just really crazy because who she leaves him for is just mind-blowing. So this movie I would probably give like an 8 out of 10 because of the ending. The next movie is Always Be My Maybe. This movie is about 2 childhood sweethearts that were set apart on 2 different paths. Eventually, they met once again and their chemistry was still there. So eventually, they ended up falling back in love with each other. It's a really good cliche movie, but really good. I'd probably give this one a 10 out of 10. The next movie is Someone Great. In this movie, this girl and her boyfriend are dating in the beginning, but eventually they break up just because she gets a new job opportunity in a different state. He chooses to stay because he does not want to leave New York, and that just tears her down. So she just goes down the drain and just cries every single day, and she tells her friends that she needs one last weekend of just having fun with her best friends. So in this movie, she's just really trying to find herself and just have a good time with her friends and just try to move on. It's a really good movie. I'd probably give this one a 9 out of 10. The next movie is Set It Up. In this movie, there's two assistants that are just tired of going to work every single day, 24/7. Their bosses are the ones that are making them go to work all the time because they are the ones that are workaholics. So eventually the two assistants decided, hey, let's get our managers together and maybe they'll like each other or fall in love. And eventually they did end up falling in love with each other. I would probably give this movie a 9 out of 10. The next movie is Falling in Love. In this movie, this girl wins an inn all the way from New Zealand and she lives in San Francisco. So she just ditches that city life and moves to New Zealand, and she just decides that she's going to make this inn up and running and make it look good. So she eventually needs a contractor who happens to be this really handsome guy that she ends up falling in love with. I would probably give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. The last section is family-friendly movies. The first one that I'm going to start off with is The Sleepover. In this movie, their parents get kidnapped by international thieves and they have to go and find their parents, and they do it with a whole bunch of cool spy gear. It's a really crazy, fun movie. I would probably give this one a 9.5 out of 10. The next movie is Despicable Me. In this movie, there is an evil villain who is trying to steal the moon. But he can't steal the moon unless he has a specific machine to do that. So he uses these three little girls that he ends up adopting to help him try to steal the moon. But he also faces the challenges of being a dad as well. So this is a really cute movie. I love this movie. I would definitely give this one a 10 out of 10. The next movie is The Croods. In this movie, there is a family who is afraid of the outside world, so they constantly just stay inside their cave because that is all they know. Well, one day their daughter just ventures off and she runs into another human, and he shows her that there's more to life than just living in a cave. It's a really crazy, fun movie again. I would definitely give this one a 10 out of 10. The next movie is The Smurfs. In this movie, there is an evil villain called Gargamel that's trying to capture all of these blue little creatures, and eventually they have to escape their homeland and go into this portal that leads them into New York. So now they're just stuck stranded in New York, trying to make it back home without getting captured again from Gargamel. And I would probably give this one a 9 out of 10. The next movie is Ralph Breaks the Internet. In this movie, Ralph is known as a bad guy in this video game, and eventually he comes across a friend who comes to him for help because her video game is about to be broken soon. So he's literally breaking the internet and becoming a good guy in order to help her find her game. It's a really good movie. I would probably give this one a 9 out of 10. The next movie is Chicken Little. In this movie, this little chicken believes that the sky is falling and that there's aliens. Everybody in his hometown, including his own dad, does not believe him. One day, the aliens actually come and attack their town, so he has to try to save everybody so that everyone can now believe him and now can see what he was talking about. I would definitely give this one a 9.5 out of 10. This one is extra funny as well. The next movie is The Lorax. It just started raining. I'm not sure if you guys can hear this in the background of my video, but I'm so sorry. I live in Florida, so the rain here hits really hard. Anyways, The Lorax is basically about this guy who is trying to protect his homeland because people are trying to tear it down, you know, for some money and stuff like that. You know, this is a Dr. Seuss film, so anything that has Dr. Seuss in it is great. This movie, I would probably give this one a 9.5 out of 10. The next movie is The Bee Movie. In this movie, this little bee has to decide what job he wants to do every single day in the hive for the rest of his life. His parents already have an idea of what he should be, but he doesn't agree with them. So he sets off on an adventure and he discovers something really shocking that nobody else in the hive has ever done. It's a really great movie. I'd probably give this one a 10 out of 10. The next movie is Sharkboy and Lavagirl. Honestly, this is such a classic. I remember watching this when I was a kid and I love this movie. This movie is about a boy who constantly dreams about a Sharkboy and a Lavagirl, but they never came to real life and nobody believed him. Well, one day they came to his classroom seeking for his help so that they can defeat this evil villain on this planet that he also dreamt of that came to real life. It's a great movie. Like I said, I would give this one a 10 out of 10. The next movie is Turbo. In this movie, there is a small little snail that happens to be slow at first, but he shows up with some superpowers and ends up being one of the fastest snails you have ever seen. He's so fast that his owner even took him to the NASCAR just to race actual cars and to see how fast he could be. And yeah, it's a really good movie. I'd probably give this one a 9 out of 10. The last movie, Madagascar Escape to Africa. This was one of my favorites growing up, so I wanted to save the best for last. In this movie, there are a whole bunch of New York zoo animals that end up in Africa. Of course, there's no place like home, but they get adjusted and the music in this movie is super catchy. I love it, super funny. I would definitely give this one a 10 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching my video today. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up for me as it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and also hit that subscribe button as my small channel is slowly growing. Until next time, I'll see you all in my next video.